we're live?
Pre-live time.
Wait.
Pre-live taco latte.
Oh, I was like, I don't know what that means. Okay, what was
Just
your
means that the
favorite?
music's going
What was
and you
your
guys can
favorite
talk.
thing from this week? Who wants to start? Jesse.
I'll start.
You just got volunteered.
I did. My favorite thing was the warm weather, and we have like tulips coming up, and it's just awesome.
Tulips. I've seen some pictures of people like on social media being like, my tulips are starting to come up, but.
Well, we have a new yard because we just moved here, so we didn't know what was going to come up, and so it's a good surprise.
Oh, that's fun.
My soul is starting to warm up. It feels like, it's just like, I love spring. I know that wasn't great content, but.
So, I want to know, Emilee, if you got a tattoo on your lower back,
Just
would
off
it
edge.
have been a tulip?
It definitely would not have been a tulip.
Is it
And
a
Danny
flower?
went there this morning.
It's not a flowery thing either. So.
Emilee, is that your favorite thing that's happened this week in that conversation?
That's probably my favorite thing that's happened this week.
Oh, I think
Okay,
I'm
guys,
ugly
12
laughing.
seconds.
I think it just happened.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, I don't even know.
Just so the viewers know, don't tell these people your secrets because they don't keep them.
Yep, secret no more.
And you guys are live.
Oh, welcome to the Plant Therapy Live, your one-stop shop for natural product news, easy DIYs, and tips for natural living. Let's get started.
A lot of people asking about DIY.
That is one of the best ways we delight our customers.
What?
Do you know what that is?
Oh my. Show you how to use those oils and how to combine them. Can customers who have kids use non-kid safe oils in their home? I think it just puts such a personal touch on the oils.
We're always looking for that sustainable sourcing.
So that's a really good way to use essential oils in your first trimester.
This is also a great choice if you're not a big lavender fan.
And we always try to do the right thing around the world and leave it a better place.
Oh goodness, what a way to start this show this morning. We've warned our customers multiple times we shouldn't be doing these on Fridays. It's a thing. Okay, for those who are watching live, you can see that we have a special guest with us today. Jesse is here to talk about distillation, and I think we are all super excited for this show. But first, Emilee is going to share some natural product news with us.
Woohoo, I sure am. So distillation has been around for centuries as a way to separate specific components from a liquid, and it has a number of uses beyond just creating essential oils. Early evidence of distillation can be found as far back as 1200 BCE when it was used in the making of perfume. Distillation was also used by the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, Chinese, and Muslim societies. Distillation is also used for the creation of alcohol, essential oils, water purification, petroleum products, and even food flavorings. Steam distillation, which is one of the most popular ways to create essential oils, passes steam through the plant material and carries the volatile compounds, I almost got through the whole thing without it. Compounds with it. Once the steam condenses back into a liquid, the essential oils are separated off, bottled, and later enjoyed by us essential oil enthusiasts. So there you have it. Distillation is an important process for creating our beloved essential oils.
Distillation. It is pretty cool.
It is.
It is pretty cool.
I feel like it's magic. I mean,
Yeah.
I know Jesse will teach us that it's not magic, but in my mind, it's very magical.
Yeah, and it's a pretty cool experience to watch too. Just because, you'll hear about it, you'll understand the steps, but then actually watching it happen, it's like really quite mind-blowing, I think, at least. It's a really awesome part of essential oils. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you have any questions, we will try to get to as many as possible, but we are super excited to have Jesse here with us. Jesse is our analytical chemist. I asked him for his title before the show. And you haven't been here too long, like
8 months about.
Okay, I was going to go with 6. So that
Because
was
I was
close.
hiding out in the corner. You guys couldn't find me for a minute.
For a minute. Didn't we just hire some dude to do?
I'm sure I did, but then once the lab appeared, then you're like, oh yeah, there he is. I knew he was here somewhere.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. So Jesse has been here for about 8 months. He is our analytical chemist, and I think we're all really excited for Jesse. There's a lot that Jesse can do, and one time I had a conversation with him and I was like, Jesse, dumb it down a little bit. Like, pretend you're talking to a 5-year-old.
And that was the last conversation Retha ever had with Jesse.
So now we've got a captive audience.
I mean, I feel like I know a lot about essential oils, and Jesse starts talking and I'm just like, that's it. Throwing my hands up, walking away. Jesse, anything that you want to tell our customers about you, just as an introduction?
Sure. So I've been involved with plants and essential oils for now quite a few years, essential oils in particular, about 5 years. But before that, I worked in horticulture, and that was kind of where I could bridge the gap from what plants do with essential oils when they're a plant, and then how we can extract them, and then how we can also prove their quality and everything that we do with analytics. So.
Yeah.
And horticulture is the study of horses, right?
That's right, because horses and plants are, no, horticulture it's similar to botany, other than, so a botanist goes around the world and says, look at all the stuff that I found, and puts it into neat categories. Now, a horticulturist will take each category and say, how many things can I get this category to do? And that's where you get sub-varieties and different things like that, and hybrids and such. So it was one of those where you get to understand, especially with like lavender. There's a lot of controversy with lavender and lavandin and all the hybrids thereof. That's where horticulture comes into play.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And I mean, my understanding is that Jesse, just for the fun of it, distills all the time.
When I get a chance, yeah.
Like, I feel like in the interview, when we interviewed you, you talked about like one of the things you loved about this area is you would just go out and find plants and was that right?
Yeah,
do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, no, the western states are really rich in natural resources. You can go out, well, for instance, here in the desert, people think, oh, dry desert, there's nothing alive, but all the sagebrush, the juniper, they all have essential oils. When you go into the mountains north of us, you do have essential oils in pretty much every tree that's there. So really, like, I kind of see the world in blobs of oil here and there. and so you can,
you're like,
this one up here, and so it's a good way to kind of explore nature, and it's fun because my son actually loves it and can probably tell you more about distillation than most adults.
So when I said explain it to a 5-year-old, what I meant is not including your son. There, I just learned what the problem was. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, and what specifically can you explain do you do at Plant Therapy?
So right now we're really focused on developing our analytic capabilities as well as the processes that we can use to push our internal quality to the next level.
Yep.
Right? Continuous improvement is really what we're about, and so that's how I can contribute very directly. And so that's where we're at in the development process. So it's going to be the long, tedious part of science, and the fun will come later. That's how it works.
The part that I don't understand.
Yeah, there's the one and the other. You can't get one or the other. You have to have both.
And I thought that I knew some things about GCMS testing, some things, but every time I go and I sit with Jesse, like, my brain hurts after I leave, and I just like look at him like, I need a week to process everything that we just talked about.
I keep trying to put her to work, and she won't stick around very long.
She just like goes numb.
I'm useless after an hour.
Oh, it's so funny.
So, Jesse, other than working with me, what is your favorite part of your job at Plant Therapy?
I'm a really naturally curious person, and so this is a way that I get to just kind of apply that to my everyday doing stuff, where I can be like, okay, what am I going to figure out today? And a lot of it comes down to like puzzle solving. It's like some people have Candy Crush, I have GC data. It works out.
Did you just say you have GC data?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I appreciate that so much. I am like the opposite of any smart person. Still, the fact that you just said I have GC data just made my day.
And it really is fun, though. It was not last week, but the week before, I went in and sat with Jesse, and we started trying to figure out some co-eluding peaks. And it was mind-blowing to me, like, just what goes into trying to dive in and figure out like what those co-elutions are to really have a competent response to what that constituent is in an essential oil. So I could see how it could be a very complicated, exhausting game for people like me. But
for people like me.
No, it makes long days, some days. That's why you got to break it up. There's always balance.
Yeah.
So which leads me to the other favorite part of my job is so far the people I work with directly. It's been a great crew, so I appreciate it.
Good. We paid him to say that.
Yeah.
Not very much, though. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the reason we have you here is to talk about distillation. What is distillation?
So in a nutshell, distillation is where you're utilizing energy, so heat, pressure, and a really clever shape to extract a set of compounds from a greater set of compounds. Okay, so you have a couple clever shapes here. We can talk about this one because it's in front of us. And this is also important to say that there's a difference between distillation and extraction, and that all distillation is an extraction, but not all extractions are distillations, right?
Okay.
So it's kind of one of those category things. But with the distillation, and this is an alembic still, so what we do is we have a heat source.
Wait, start again. It's a what still?
Alembic.
Oh.
So it's a very particular type. In the,
See, again, I think I know things, and then Jesse blows my mind.
Our customers are saying they need closed captioning. There are too many big words.
Yeah. Well, we'll just keep doing this over and over. They'll pick it up as long as we go.
It's true. It's true.
That's how they do it at university,
I mean, that's how
right?
it works for me.
Just repeat it enough times, and
Yep.
eventually we'll get there.
Yeah, they'll either get it or look it up or both.
Hey, I like it.
I'm guilty too, and someone says a big word, I'm like, I don't know what that is. Got it, okay. I'm on
I
page.
still don't know what that is. Okay, we're sorry, Jesse.
No worries. With this particular still, the reason that this style is what makes it called an alembic is because of this little bulb right here. It has different purposes for different extractions. For essential oils, it doesn't do a whole lot necessarily, but it does add to the shape, right? So here's where we would have our water and plant material, and it's very similar to what we have going over here.
Oh, speaking of what we have going over there.
Oh,
Oh.
looks like my
And you're. Oh no, we're just.
It's a live show.
It's all just happening. Okay, for those of you who
So
are
come over here and we'll just talk
are
about
watching
this,
the podcast, there's
system.
some leakage over
There's-
on the distill that's
Yeah.
what I was like speaking, and so Jesse's.
So we're going to just turn that off because that will help. So what's happened is that the cooling water wasn't keeping up, and so it heated up the hoses. That's why it's leaking.
Okay.
My pump isn't usually that low. I try to hide it, and that was my mistake. So some other physics. Pumps require a certain amount of energy to lift to a certain height. This pump is not lifting well enough. Got it. But what we have going on here is different extraction.
Do we
This
need
is
to
our still.
fix that? Do you
It's
need to?
going to. This is turning off, so it's just going to.
Okay, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll just
Okay.
get some towels here in a minute.
Okay. Oh, they're on it.
They're on it. So what we do,
There's
yes,
some right in that drawer right there.
middle drawer? Ah, perfect. See, this is why I try to test it before. I didn't test it well enough. And I had to make my first debut on this exciting, otherwise you guys wouldn't remember me.
Excuse me.
It's okay. Customers right now are saying how beautiful that contraption is. So I'm only seeing positive things. But we do need to have Jesse's mic increase a bit. People are having a hard time hearing him.
Did I accidentally turn it off when I was jumping up?
Someone just commented on the low timbre of your voice.
Oh.
That was their words.
That's a nice way of putting it.
That is a
Yes.
nice way.
That was
I do not have a
Carrie
low
on
timbre, I don't
YouTube's.
think.
Jesse, you could have told us that was part of the
This
distillation
is
process.
part of the distillation.
And we would have.
No, I would hate to lead anyone astray that way. So what we have going on here is with this contraption, this apparatus, is that it's similar to the one that we were just talking about, is that we have our plant material and our water in a boiler unit. This is hydrodistillation, which is different than steam distillation, just very slightly. In steam distillation, you'd have a boiler that's separate, and that was the kind of system that I'd prefer to use when I was doing research into aromatic plants, most of the time. There is a reason to do hydrodistillation with certain materials. If you have a very large molecule that you need to lift out of the material, hydrodistillation is beneficial because the water will transfer energy about 5 times better than steam. Steam can carry a lot more energy in a direction, but the actual energy transfer from molecule to molecule is better with water. So for like ylang in Madagascar, you will see hydrodistillation a lot because you can use very little water and you can get really heavy compounds for a really rich profile.
Interesting.
So that's what's happening in this chamber. It goes up to the still head and into a condenser, which is not condensing well enough right now, like we just said. But it's condensing well enough that we are getting a capture of oil.
Oh, and you can see it.
Yeah, so by the way, there is some movie magic going here. This is a mix of herbs, including some chamomile and some blue tansy so we can see the oil, because otherwise it's clear and it's hard to see.
Yeah.
So not a pure single essential oil, it's a blend, just blended in the herbs.
That's cool.
And so I did put some clove in there, hoping that we'd get a nice pull so you could see 3 layers, but I don't see it yet. So maybe by the end of the show. Anyhow, so what we have to do is get all this down here condensed. We get 2 things, and this is a topic I think was going to come later, but this is where we get 2 products. The 2 products we'll be getting is essential oil that will either float or sink, and then the hydrosol or floral water, depending on what kind of verbiage you want to use, right? I refer it to as floral water because I learned from old people that that's what they said. It wasn't a hydrosol, it was a floral water, and there's also something called the reflux water, which is the water that stays here.
Oh.
So that's basically how a still works. That's basically what you're seeing here as well on this other little still, but distillation separation process is very dependent on the heat and the water involved. There is dry distillation, but that's generally used on things like resins. So if you have like a frankincense resin or a myrrh resin, or in the United States, one of the old industries that used dry distillation was making naval stores for the old wooden boats and the ropes.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, what other methods of extraction are there?
That is a good question. There's a few. One of the ones that we have to deal with a lot is cold press. So here's some of the peel of my snack for later. And it's a citrus, right? And so with citrus in a cold press, it's literally like what it sounds is that you just squeeze it and you get oil out.
Yeah.
So that's cold press.
Oh, your hands are going to smell so good.
Yeah,
right
exactly, right? That's how simple it is. I mean, if you guys want to extract some oil.
You know, I really
I mean,
do.
if you're going to offer.
Yep.
I'm going to feel so professional right now.
Yep.
I love
I
peeling
wish they could get a
oranges. I
zoom
love
up.
that
We do
smell.
have a video on YouTube
Oh, yeah, we
that
can
has
see
a zoom up on me squeezing an orange peel
Yep.
and watching just the oils.
The mist, yeah. So I have a plan for later with one of our instruments, which is the FTIR, is that you can literally squeeze the oil out of any of the citrus peels onto our lens, and it will match it to the oil, because that's how easy and pure the process is.
That's amazing.
So that's another show at another time. Come back.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. So that's cold press extraction, right? Now, when we're talking about things like absolutes, there's a few ways people will do that. Have you ever heard of like enfleurage? That's where you take.
You know, I really haven't.
Okay, it's a perfumist terminology. So what you do is with flowers, for instance, is you're going to take a layer of refined fat or oil or wax or something like that, and you lay the flowers in between, and you put another layer on there. And now there's warm and there's cold, and basically all the smell from the flower goes into those fats, and then you extract it from the fats.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
What was that called again?
Enfleurage.
Enfleurage.
Yeah.
That's so
It even
fancy.
sounds
That
cool.
So fancy.
Yeah.
Enfleurage. I just learned
It's
about
very French.
enfleurage. So did I, Rachel.
That's also a way of making French fries.
Enfleurage.
Oh, to have the enfleurage fries, please.
Sounds delicious. That's really cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways they do it. When you talk about other extractions, there's people have heard of like CO2 extraction, critical mass extraction, cryogenic extractions, things like that. And basically they're all variations on ways to involve something that acts like a solvent that will take the oil out of the plant matter into that material, or to manipulate pressures so things will vaporize because of the unusual environment. Right, so for hops, they will use a cryogenic method to do that, basically a giant freeze dryer. Will pull all the moisture out, and then they're able to extract the oil in a very pure form.
That's cool.
That is
So
really neat.
There's a lot, so there's so many that you can talk about though that's
Yeah.
really hard to cover all in one go. So we'll maybe pick topics as we go.
Yeah, maybe do a specific show on each. Woo, it could
Yeah.
get crazy up in here.
Sounds like a reason for a road trip.
realize
Yeah, oh, I like it.
Just before the show, Jesse was telling me a little bit about distillation. The essential oil isn't. I always assumed the essential oil, kind of like in an orange, you squeeze the peel and all the essential oil comes out. In most plants material, the essential oil is dispersed throughout the entire plant, all the parts of all the
Yeah.
constituents, and then they come together when they are. Anyway, it was fascinating. So that's going to have to be another show as well,
Okay.
explaining that.
Well, yeah, so we'll get into your juniper in your yard, like you said. It's a good one.
I love
like
juniper.
it.
It's one of my favorite oils. Are there any plants that you would say are more difficult to extract than others, or does it just depend on the method that you use?
I would say that there are plants that are more difficult, and the reason is because extraction really starts at the harvest, okay? And that's something that people don't really understand, that it's not like you just get your material and you extract it and you have a good oil, right? You have a lot of things that go into it. So, for instance, with something like lavender, you have to wait till you have the right Brix levels, usually how they measure it. And when you harvest, you'll leave it out in the field as like what they call a lavender hay. So literally they cut it and they lay it like alfalfa hay or grass hay, and they'll let it dry for a few days, weather permitting, and then they'll bring it in. And the reason they do that is because there's a little bit of naturally occurring solvent in the lavender that will make it harder to get a clean separation post-distillation in your separator if you try to go straight into it. And you don't get necessarily the full set of the profile. So that's where you have to look at the extractions where there are things that are very difficult, whereas things like juniper or cedarwood, you literally just take sawdust and throw it in the still and crank up the heat. It's easy, it's simple, and you get the same product pretty much all the time. So yeah, and every plant's different. So like vanilla is another one where you have to wait for the orchid to grow up the tree, and then it will drop down the beans, and then they'll have to harvest them at the right time, and they dry them for a while, and then it's this huge ordeal just to get that vanilla extract. So yeah, there are some that are very much harder to use, and the processes involved are very involved.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why you kind of see the world in oil, right? Because it's not just this plant. You understand like that long process, that tedious process. And I think it just, I don't know, it brings a lot more appreciation for the oil that you're using, right? You have a lot more appreciation for that, understanding that it's not just like, okay, here's plant, put it in, it's an oil now, ta-da!
Magic. Yep.
Magic! That's why Emilee and I think it's magic, because we don't understand all of that process. And Jesse's like, it's not so magic. It takes a lot of work. Okay, Jesse, so you talked a little bit about a hydrosol earlier, and how it kind of separates during the steam distillation process. So I want to have you add a little bit more to that, but actually you said when you were over there at the still, you said the oil that's on top and the oil that's on the bottom. I always assumed the oil floated to the top. And the distillation that I've personally seen, it's always at the top. So I want to learn more about the oil at the bottom.
Sure. So the oil compounds that you'll see aren't always, when they're in that mixture, lighter than water, right? So they might be hydrophobic in that they'll still separate, but things like clove and cinnamon very much are heavier than water.
I just learned this yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, I just watched a video on this yesterday because I didn't know that either until
So
yesterday.
how do you separate it from the water? Because the one that I saw, like they had holes at the top, right? So as the oil got there, and then they just stopped it before the water got there. If it's at the bottom, how do you do that?
So you can use a separatory funnel,
Like
much
what you
this.
have.
And so you basically have a valve on the bottom that as the water passes through the top, and I had another glass piece that isn't quite here yet. I was hoping to have it because it's easier to explain.
Okay.
But you'll basically let the water pass over the top, and the oil comes out on the bottom. So a lot of times they'll have multiple containers lined up so that the water comes out of the still or the condenser and it goes into one, then the next, and the next, and the next, and then you basically just siphon the water off the top, and then you get the oil on the bottom.
That's really cool.
So cool.
That is awesome.
That is cool. I did not know that. I always thought the oil was on the top.
Yeah, I did too.
Fascinating. That's really cool. Okay, now about hydrosols. I'm sorry, you just mentioned that when you were talking about hydrosols, and it was on my mind the whole time. So hydrosols. Okay, so you talked about how it's the water that is separate from the oil. Anything else? Like maybe therapeutic benefits of hydrosols? Are there actually like oil in the hydrosol water? Anything like that you want to share with the customers?
Yeah, so with hydrosols, you do have a mix, which is water primarily, but you have a lot of functional groups and little compounds that are able to act as an emulsifier, and they're just naturally occurring, and they will draw in a significant amount of oil into the water. And so you do have the benefit of the oil, but you have all these other things as well that are able to go to oil or water, right? That's the emulsifier part. And so that's what makes it a different water than like a distilled water. Like people would assume that it's just a pure distilled water, but there's a lot of things in the plant that will come out with the water and then stay in the water. And that's where the therapeutic benefit for every hydrosol is going to be different, just like the oils. And that's something that I haven't delved into as much. I leave that to aromatherapists.
It is really cool though.
Yesterday we did a little micro live on hydrosols, and one thing that came up was some of the testing that you can do on hydrosols, and I know that's something that you've worked on, but I was trying to explain that you have to really isolate the aromatic compounds to have an understanding of that profile. So can you talk about that a little bit, even though we're not quite there yet?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So it presents a bit of a challenge because the technology we can use to analyze the essential oils has been developed a lot more than the hydrosols, right? The hydrosols basically haven't been in a big market. Not many people want to buy them necessarily compared to the oils.
Right.
So the technology and the processes are in development. They're being researched and it's getting better every day. However, it does require you do a very long multi-step process to isolate things from water that want to be in water.
He looks so excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but it's going to be some practice.
Yeah.
Science always is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's where we are going to be looking at using a lot of lab techniques to basically, we'll take a hydrosol and we're going to put a solvent in with it that's heavier than water and hydrophobic, so it won't mix with the water, and then we'll put another solvent in on top of it. And what's going to happen is that solvent will evenly disperse, hopefully, the aromatics into the heavy solvent. And we're going to do that over and over with the hydrosol until we can get enough of a concentration in the heavy solvent that we can run it in the GC. And then we'll be able to get a good feel of what those are once we analyze the peaks. And have Emilee come in and do that for me.
It really is
cool.
quite fun.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think the more people learn about hydrosols and understand what they are and their therapeutic benefits, and the more that, like, once we start doing that and we can show this chemical profile, right? And then they can break that down and we can really understand what makes up a hydrosol and why it's therapeutic, you know? And instead of just like, hey, a hydrosol is the water left over from the steam distillation and it's therapeutic, it's like, you know, it's
Here's
showing
why.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And I know this might be, let me know if I'm going into stuff that might be a rabbit hole, but the hydrosols actually, you were saying earlier that a plant, to be able to use the stuff in the essential oil, it actually has to, it has to use the emulsifier. It has its own emulsifiers and stuff to separate everything so that it can use the oils and stuff. And so, I don't know, the hydrosols kind of gave me an idea of what a plant actually might be, the way it might be using the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like you said. So with the essential oils, I mean, they separate from water, right? The plant isn't 90% oil. It's mostly water, so it has to use little compounds to keep those oil molecules in solution in the vascular system, and also to just move things around. And that's what the other thing people don't realize about essential oils is, like, and there's an assumption like they're there for us, right? And really the plant has so much use for all of that.
Yeah.
And so with, for instance, I spent a lot of time researching conifers and the oils we can get from them. And even though all the oil compounds are constructed in the needles, in the leaf structure, because that's where the sun's energy is the most prevalent in the plant, it can utilize it, right? What it does is it will make all these different molecules that are useful for it. In particular, beta-pinene and camphor are ones that are really good markers to show when it's building lignins, it's making wood, right? And when that happens, the essential oil content of the plant diminishes dramatically because all the oil just turned into tree.
It's using its own energy. That's
Exactly.
that's amazing.
Yep. And so there's, and that's, maybe this is part of that rabbit hole that Danny was talking about.
It's fine. It's an awesome rabbit hole.
Is that when you are constructing plants out of all these molecules and stuff, I mean, there's different ways they do it, and there's different oils that form. And that's, like it says, a whole nother show. And to do with the juniper conversation is that juniper really has 3 oils. You have oil in the trunk, which is a lysogenic oil, meaning it comes from cell death, lysis. There's schizogenic oil in the leaf and in the berries, which is something that was put there on purpose for a reason through cellular division. So that's where,
My
that's where you
mind
get the
is
3 oils.
blown.
I have like these little fireworks going off in my brain.
Like
right now. I
oil
just feel like
created
I'm
from the death
obtaining
of the
so much
plant.
information.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah, but in the trunk, right? So
Right.
in a tree, you'll have sapwood, which is the living wood, and then you have heartwood, which is essentially just dead lignin. But some trees, like cedar and juniper and Douglas fir, they will all, when they do that, a bunch of oil forms as a natural defense against bugs that bore into them. And so there's these big, long sap things and stuff, right? And so that's where a lot of the trunk oil comes from. But with Doug fir, that trunk oil is more like turpentine, and with like a cedar, an atlas cedar, it's our oil, right?
Interesting.
So that's where you also have to be very careful about
Brilliant.
what you're distilling.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not all amazing.
No, there's some really bad ones. I've made some really bad oils, and it was a learning experience.
That is fascinating.
I love
That's
Anna
absolutely
Ellis's
fascinating.
words. She calls them sparkle words. You're giving us lots of sparkle words.
Oh, awesome.
I really like that.
That's really cool.
One thing that I realized, I've only had the opportunity to actually distill something like, it was one trip over 3 days, but we actually went and like harvested all of the plant material and packed the still, and I just going into that, it was exhausting. Like I was out like cutting branches in like 100-degree weather and stuffing the still, and at the end of it, we produced maybe like 100 mils total of essential oil, and I got to take home 5 mils. And so on that note, in general, how much plant material does it take to actually distill?
Okay, sure. So like every plant, and this will lead into another conversation too, but every plant is a little different, right? So let's start with something a lot of people know, like lavender. For lavender, you would expect to get around 650 10 mil bottles per acre.
Per acre.
Per acre.
Do we know how big an acre is? I grew up on a farm. My family was a farmer. Acres are big.
Acres are big. So with lavendin, you'd expect to see about 2,500 10 mil bottles per acre.
Interesting.
With Melissa lemon balm, you'd see about 40.
I was like,
40
we're going to
10
see
mil
this
bottles.
price.
Yeah. Right? Exactly, yeah. Now clove bud, because it's on a bushy tree and it's really oil heavy, you'll see about 16,000 10 mil bottles per acre.
That's cool.
So that's where you can start to understand where things are grown and how they grow and how they're harvested, and everything really contributes to how much you can get and why they cost what they do.
To the end price of that bottle.
Exactly.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's for an acre. Yes, that's
Yes.
what he said.
Yeah.
Acre. I think that's
10
just
mil,
something
10 mil acres.
And that's something for our brains just hard to wrap around.
It's-
That it's just, you think about there's so much plant that you would think that it would produce a bunch
Yeah.
of oil, but once you condense it all down. And I think that's a great way to explain it to people how concentrated essential oils are.
Right.
And I'm a very visual person, so that's how I always like to explain it to our customers. Is like
Squeeze
picture
an
this
acre.
giant acre of lavender, and then picture that all being squeezed into like just a couple
One
small
bottle.
bottles.
Yep.
And it really makes you visually be like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of plants in just this little tiny bottle.
Yep, sure is.
I've always wondered, I always had a hard time understanding why the constituents of a rose, like rose has to be, certain roses have to be harvested at a certain time
Yeah.
of the day. I never understood how that could make a difference until you kind of described, the different places that the plant puts things when it's in different parts of its growth and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. I don't know. Sorry, just had to say that.
Yeah, it is. Melissa's asking, do you know how much frankincense you'd get per acre off the top of your head?
That's a hard one because frankincense is very much like a standalone tree and you're gathering resin, so it has a lot to do with how much resin those trees are producing and how tightly packed they are on per acre. I have personally not visited any either wildcrafted or plantation frankincense.
Okay.
So that is a good question though, because I know that the frankincense does produce a lot, and that actually kind of leads into the conversation I wanted to have next, is that when you are talking about acreage per how many bottles you get, that's assuming a farm situation where you have it completely cultivated. Now, I've had some experience looking at wildcraft herbs, so I've been to Morocco looking at the wild rosemary, and I've been in Madagascar looking at things like the catrafa, which is our oil of the month, I believe. Coming up.
He just spilled the beans.
Sorry.
It's fine. They're going to
Sorry.
love you even more now.
You're going to
for
come
spilling
back.
that. we're known for spilling lots of beans
Yeah.
on the show, so it's
I think you
great.
just made their day, Jesse.
And Jesse, my first show, I spilled the oil on my beans too.
Nice.
So don't
Yep.
you
I
worry
was
about it.
just excited because I had pictures of where it was from and it was wild
That's
crafted.
so
Because you've been there.
I've been there.
That is so cool.
Yeah, but it's the wild crafting complicates things dramatically, right? So when I was in Madagascar, I had to hike in 4 miles from a village, and then we were up in the mountains and stuff, walking around. There were no roads, there was nothing. Everything was carried out on their backs.
Can Plant Therapy do a documentary of Jesse's journey to like desert oils? Like this just sounds like I'm watching a show.
I actually do think we have something like that planned, right?
Yeah, we have
That
a trip
is-
planned.
that is
Yeah, we have a
this
trip
summer, I
planned
think.
for Jesse, and we'll be getting lots of footage. So
Yeah, sure will.
yeah, we're really excited about that, as I know our customers. And 100% we will do a show when he gets back.
And I volunteer as camera woman. Can I just
Yeah,
put that
nice
out
try.
there?
I've been volunteering for like,
wanted to
I don't know,
call it
8 years
first.
now, and
She
I've yet
beat me
to
to
go. Oh goodness. Okay. So wildcraft, yes, much more. I think you were getting to sustainability.
Yep, that one.
Yeah, that word.
Yep. So that's where it does require a lot of careful investigation on our part to make sure that these things aren't happening in like nefarious ways, right?
Right.
And that's where certain products like spikenard and rosewood come under a lot of scrutiny because of the harvesting techniques. A lot of it has happened in a way that you are clearing land to make farmland or rangeland, and it's another way to make money to roll into that business model or to buy family, food for your family, something like that. Usually the players on the ground aren't the nefarious ones. It's people moving money, big money back and
Yeah.
forth between nations. So to ensure that, it does help to have reliable people you work with and have really nice chains of custody. So that's something that with sustainability, it takes a lot of effort and it does take a lot of work, and it's an important thing because you don't want to just destroy the planet and have a short-term game, and
Yeah.
B, if you want to have a long-term product and be able to provide that benefit to the customers for a long time, it's got to be priority. So
Yeah.
wild crafting does require investigation because it's kind of hard when you're out in remote places like that just to trust whoever told you,
Yeah.
that it was okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
I think
mentioned
that's a great point.
sustainability, Jesse, because we actually have had quite a few customers comment on here that now that they're hearing the process of how essential oils are extracted, it makes them kind of sad for the plant that, the plant, all the stuff goes into it for it to produce the oil. So I like that he mentioned that it can be done in a very sustainable way. We're not just out killing a bunch of plants.
Yeah.
It's done with a lot of care.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. And then we get those benefits, those lovely benefits, when you do it correctly and you respect the plant and the industry and all of
Yeah.
that. The farmers, the people who are making a living off of it, it's this full circle, and you have to think about all of it.
Yep, we're all in it together.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I've been trying to watch some comments and really haven't seen any specific questions. A lot of just funny comments about people I have to go rewatch it. I didn't catch what he said about the oil.
When you spilled the beans, we had a flood of comments.
sure.
Wait, what did he
Wait,
say?
say it
Where
again,
was
say
it?
it
Exactly. I'm gonna have to rewatch. I didn't catch it. What's happening?
We have somebody that actually has the timestamp from when you said it. So they told somebody the exact timestamp of when to go back and hear it.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
I already edited it out, guys.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Danny's quick on his feet. But I haven't really seen any questions. Darby, Danny, have you seen any questions specifically?
Not
that
really
we should
questions,
ask
just a lot
Jesse?
of comments. People love, our
Yes.
customers love this information because it's really fascinating to hear about stuff from the ground up.
Yeah, and I've seen lots who have joined later. Do you want to tell them again what's in that still? Because I've seen a couple customers ask that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's come back over here. I won't throw my mic this time. Try not to throw my mic.
Switch over to that.
Yeah. Yeah, pull the plug on this anyhow.
They want every third Friday with Jesse. I just saw that.
Science
like
Fridays,
every
just
third
like
Friday
NPR.
to me.
We
Oh,
do
I
it.
like it.
Fridays with Jesse.
Our very own Bill Nye.
Yeah,
Right? That's a great way to describe it. You are kind of like Bill Nye. All of us 90s kids will appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He has his new show. It's just a little more explicit, right?
No swearing.
It's
no
for us
lying.
90s kids that grew
I
up.
thought he was a quick editor. I mean, can't get away with that.
I've tried. No, just kidding. Oh, so funny. Okay.
So in here I mixed a few different herbs in there, but just to demonstrate this is where plant material would go for a hydrodistillation. But really what we were trying to do by having a few different herbs is to try to produce a few different oils, and so you can see it. And you can see we do have a dark color oil right here. And that's because I put some of the oils that have chemizulene, the blue color, chamomile or tansy or some of these other, there's a few blue things around, I guess, but those ones are the ones we sell. I was trying to remember what's in our product list.
Yeah.
So I've researched lots of random plants, so I have to go back and be like, okay, which ones do we sell? But, so that's what we're doing with this. This is a really basic lab setup where you're just going to apply heat to the water and the plant material, and the steam is what's actually going to be carrying our volatile compounds up through the still head and then down to this condenser, which was leaking earlier. So if you got to miss that, you can,
You can go back.
You can go back. The condenser is using cold water that comes in here and exits here to just cool off the whole mix. And when you do that, you get two different flows of materials. You'll get a floral water or the hydrosol, and then you get the essential oil that will either float or sink depending on the materials. So most oils will float. However, things like clove and cinnamon are heavier than water, even though they're oil, and they will sink.
Do you see some now? Or not yet?
Not. I don't think it got hot enough to get the clove out.
Before we had to turn it off.
Yeah, before the leak. So, but yeah, so that's where hopefully we can do another extraction where we can show heavy oils, because it is easy to get materials, especially clove. They dry the clove buds before they distill it. And so you can get actually clove powder and produce an oil pretty easily without accessing the plants, because there's not a lot of clove in Idaho. Not yet, maybe. We'll fight away. So that's basically what we're doing over here, and that's what we were trying to show, is that now we have this little layer of oil down there. So, and then to extract the oil from the hydrosol, so we get two separate materials, is we'll just turn this little knob, and it will let the hydrosol out, and the oil can concentrate at the bottom of this funnel.
It's so cool.
That's one of the parts that's most fascinating to me, is actually separating water from something. Because if you think about it, like to try and pull water from oil,
it's a science for sure. Look at that.
So yeah, now we'll get a nice thick layer there, you can see.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, you can really see it now.
I can't even imagine the amount of jealousy happening with our customers who are watching this live. Like, it is probably most of their dreams to be able to see this process and understand this. It's really cool. And just that thick, dark oil, it's absolutely beautiful. Those that are listening to the podcast, I mean, it's a deep, deep blue. Well, with maybe hints of green in there, huh?
Yeah, it's from the basil.
Yeah.
It made it kind of like that, yeah, really dark.
We did
deep
have
color.
a
Love
question.
it.
Some
It's
customers
beautiful.
wanted to know what herbs you have going in there.
So I just threw a mix of stuff that I have on hand, like you do. I mean, everyone has herbs sitting around, right?
Some hashish.
Actually, no.
Sometimes mine come in a shaker.
Are you talking in our kitchen?
No, so I had maybe a lot of basil that's getting to the point where it needed something done with. And so mostly it's basil, but there is yarrow flower and leaf that's been ground up, as well as some clove, because I was hoping the clove would show a heavy oil, but I said pump issues.
And then you said chamomile and blue tansy?
I did add
little
some
bit?
of the liquid oil that
we
got just from our stock
Just
to put
to
in
darken
there,
it.
to darken it as a marker, basically.
Yeah,
an indicator.
it makes sense. Yeah.
So there's the yarrow that's in there that did provide a bit of the blue, but a lot of that really dark color is probably from the chamomile and the
That's
blue
cool.
tansy.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and that's where it's just for the visual effect of those blues. They come through so well.
Yeah. And when it's alive, you have to have that visual effect, right? That's really cool. Okay, I still have been watching and haven't really seen any. I think really our customers are like Emilee and I after we talk to you, and our brains are just like tired, and we'll get questions later, I'm sure. But that was really awesome. We do have a game to play, and is Jesse staying and playing this game with us?
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, so we are going to play an ingredient silhouette game.
All right. So, our first silhouette is this. What is this silhouette?
Oh, I
Do we
know
have
what
like
it is.
a dinger?
I know what it is.
Oh yeah, we should
No,
have.
we don't have a dinger.
You can make your own ding.
Ding! I know.
Jesse.
We're gonna fail if Jesse has a dinger. He's gonna be
Get
so
ginger.
fast.
So yeah, are you seeing? I'm seeing some guesses
We're
from
getting
our
a lot of
customers.
ginger.
And
Ginger.
turmeric,
And turmeric.
ginger.
Yeah.
People are gathering that this is a root.
Yep.
Yes.
Ah, you would be incorrect. It is not a root.
Ginger.
I love cooking with ginger.
It's a
Really.
Yes.
It's my favorite.
I
don't
love
like
just
saying the word tuber,
ginger.
okay?
I love it. I love
So,
it in all things.
Fun fact about ginger: it is not actually a root. It's a rhizome, which is an underground stem, which I didn't know. I can't pretend like I
What's a
did.
root? If
What's
a
the difference
rhizome is
between-
an underground stem, what's a root? An underground
Fingers?
non-stem?
Yeah, it's a root.
What's the, Jesse, do you know?
No.
He's like,
Tell us,
scientist over here. Okay, Jesse.
So the roots are the structures that are actually accessing the ground for moisture and nutrient, whereas a rhizome, being an underground stem, is basically what you can split things off of. Like so hops or whatever, it can grow roots or, above ground stem. So it's an intermediate structure.
So is it basically like an underground plant? It's a plant, but it's growing.
Well, it's
underneath
the
soil?
underground half of the plant. Like every time you see a plant on top, the other half's on bottom. See a 40-foot tree, the roots are about the same.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
Okay,
So
that's
if-
really cool.
If the tree's trunk was under the ground 5 feet, that 5 feet would be a rhizome. Just kidding. That's not true. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Oh.
What could this be? Some of the,
Well,
I mean,
it's some type of grass.
Lemongrass?
it's a grassy thing.
Is it lemongrass? I don't know.
I have a guess. I'm gonna say
It's really hard to tell
Vetiver.
from
Yeah, I don't know.
from the drawing. This probably was a drawing that somebody had.
Jesse, are you digging
Vetiver,
in?
I was gonna say
palmarosa.
Bedivere.
Oh.
There's a few
These
things.
are all good. Vetiver,
Yeah.
palmarosa. What was
I
some of
love
these?
how you just said vetiver. Vetiver.
Vetiver.
It goes along with that word earlier that I don't remember what it was, but it was that French word with the fat and the, there we go. Vetiver, enfleurage. Okay, sorry. What is it, Danny? What do you got for us? Vetiver.
Vetiver.
Right.
Vetiver.
Guess
Does
that
it-
right.
And vetiver, doesn't it?
So disappointed.
Is it the roots that we get, or the whole plant?
I
I
think
think
the
they just-
roots
I
is
think
what
so.
our
Vetiver
oil
should
comes
be
from.
the roots, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But
well,
you can make like
Fans.
fans.
I have a
out
fan.
Of, the fans.
And it
So
still
beautiful.
smells like, yeah, it's just the dried plant and it smells like vetiver. It's
Have
lovely.
you been and seen vetiver and?
I've seen it, but it was on a farm that had lots of things. So
Okay.
it wasn't like I was there for that.
I remember we had one of our partners come and tell us a little bit about vetiver and rucus. Rucus?
Sure.
Is that it? Yeah.
Could be.
sure.
There's a lot of things.
And they would
Make
take,
a name up. It'll probably
they
be
would
real.
take the grass from the vetiver plant and actually make like shades for their houses.
Oh
and
my
things
goodness,
like
can you
that.
imagine how
Yes.
good that
Like
sounds?
I want to come visit.
I want to live in a vetiver house. It's true, I do.
All right, we have another one here.
Oh, that's
I
definitely.
mean, this is a
pine
little
cones.
bit easier than the last one.
I'm gonna say balsam fir or Douglas fir.
I'm going to say pine. Need pine.
Huh?
We
Well,
sell
I mean,
pine, don't we?
again, this is it's
Scott's-
really
Scott's
tough
pine.
to
I
tell
was
with
like,
these.
that just came out,
I
sounded
mean, those are
funny.
definitely pine cones.
Fir, pine,
It's not vetiver.
fir, pine,
For
fir, pine, cedar,
Fir needle.
balsam
needle,
fir,
yeah, fir needle.
Yeah, it's one of those
needle.
things. It could have been any of those. Fun fact about fir. The wood of most firs is considered unsuitable for general timber use and is often used as pulp for the manufacture of plywood and rough timber.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know
fun
I
that.
fact.
haven't known a lot of things.
All right.
That's
How about this? This isn't really a silhouette, but it's
oh, that might be. That kind of looks like dill almost.
kind of looks, yeah. Kind of
These
looks
look
dilly.
like dill.
Yeah, the leaves look like dill. The blossoms
top
up top are
part.
kind of throwing me off, but dill has like a little yellow blossom at the top.
Do you know?
Yeah, if this wasn't.
I might venture valerian.
Oh, I don't know what valerian looks
I don't
like.
know what valerian looks like either. We're getting
Looks
dill
like a
weed,
flower.
chamomile,
Coriander's a
yarrow.
good guess.
Oh, I see the answer.
coriander.
Oh, you see coriander. And
It is
fennel.
coriander.
Oh, I don't know what coriander looked like.
Okay.
And fun fact,
Interesting,
the name coriander comes from the Greek word choris, which is actually the word for stink bug.
Oh.
That should be valerian, then, not coriander.
It should
Are they
be
related?
valerian.
All right, this is our last one, I believe.
I don't know what it is.
I think
Oh no,
that's-
there's 2 more.
I think that's bergamot.
Do you really?
I do really think that's bergamot.
But isn't bergamot usually not as smooth? Like, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of lumpy.
it's
a
kind
little
of
lumpy?
lumpy, but
That's pretty
To
smooth.
me, I always think of bergamot as like a mixture of a lime and a lemon, like put together. But I don't know. That's definitely a citrus. It actually
is.
looks like a pear
I'm
almost,
gonna go
but I
with
know it's not a
lime.
pear.
I'm going to go lemon just because you went lime.
Okay.
And it is lemon. I mean,
Dang it.
again, this could be a lime without the
At
color.
a 50-50 chance.
Limes are usually squattier to me. Like I picture like a lime as like short and stout.
I feel like
bit leaner.
a lime. A little squat.
I knew that was coming as soon as
Yeah,
I
it's
said
so
it. I was like, yeah, he's
squattier.
gonna.
All right, this one is, again, these are hard to tell by the silhouette.
It's very pretty looking.
Definitely
It
a
is.
flower.
It is a flowery thing.
Neroli?
Oh yeah,
That's a good
neroli
guess.
Maybe.
It's a good guess.
Magnolia, jasmine. What the heck is that?
Jasmine.
It is jasmine. I
Jasmine.
like the
I
what the
should have
heck
known
is that.
That's my
comment.
that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, jasmine.
Jasmine has fruits.
That's what it says.
Oh, I didn't
berries
know
Berries
that.
that turn black. I
when
don't know if
ripe.
they're edible, but that's their,
I can't imagine they would taste very good.
No.
yeah.
What, if something's turning black when it's ripe? I mean, I guess we eat black olives. What else do we eat that's black?
Blackberries.
Blackberries.
Beans.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah,
beans.
black beans.
Yeah. But blackberries, they're really like,
Blueberries.
yeah, they have like
They're more
that,
like
the
purpley.
purple,
Purple,
that
yeah.
dark
Filled with
purple.
I
Okay.
love black.
We're gonna have a conversation about black food. Who knew? Oh, that's
the
it.
end.
Well, that was fun, and I did great. Okay, so thanks for participating, those that are watching live. We have a giveaway for everyone. Well, to enter. That maybe came out bad.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a giveaway
tell
that
me it's
everyone
for
can enter. My bad. You will have until midnight tonight to enter this giveaway, and you must enter via the giveaway link, which you can find in the comment section of the live video as well as in the live description. And we are going to choose 6 winners, and each winner is going to win.
Something, does it say up there?
It does, but I'm not convinced it's correct.
Oh, let me look.
Is it? I mean, don't we only
Oh.
have 2 new hydrosols?
Yes, but 3 and 3 to equal 6. Like
Yeah,
3
three
of
of-
the calendula
yeah.
and 3 of the neroli.
Oh, I get it. So 3 winners total.
Yeah.
And
And
you're gonna win
each
two.
win 2 hydrosols. Okay, we got there. Okay, so enter before midnight tonight, and we're going to choose 3 winners, and each of the winners are going to win one of each of our new hydrosols, which is calendula and neroli. Yes.
Ooh. What's your
And they're
favorite?
fabulous.
We talked about
Yes.
Emilee's favorite last night.
Wait, we did. I
Of
didn't
those
hear.
2.
I didn't watch it. I haven't seen it.
Well, you couldn't really hear anything.
I know I have a mic on. I mean,
we
everyone
we
watched
saw a
yesterday,
customer
so-
asking earlier what you use calendula hydrosol for.
I use it for a lot of skin concerns. It's
Yeah.
very, very good for the skin. And it's one of my favorites for pets too, using it with dogs. Definitely a good choice.
Keep them from barking.
Not quite. I don't
Not
think
quite.
that there's a hydrosol for that.
I think that's why hydrosols should be more popular than they are, because there's so many skin benefits with using hydrosol, and they're so gentle. You can use on animals, you can use on, babies. Like, they're just really an amazing product.
They're one of my favorites. I love
Yeah.
hydrosols.
Do you have a favorite hydrosol out of all hydrosols in the world?
I haven't picked a favorite yet.
Okay. Well,
Get there someday. I
Well,
guess.
we'll
keep
have
it
to.
open.
Yeah.
We'll
We
have
did,
to.
we did
we'll
have
to do
somebody
that.
earlier in the show ask what your favorite essential oil is, Jesse.
Oh.
That's not fair because I've made oils from all sorts of stuff that's never going to see the market. So.
That's okay. Do you
That's
have a
okay. I think
favorite?
that
wanna
makes
hear
it more
yours.
exciting.
We still need to know.
Sure, okay. So my favorite oil that I have made is from a variety of subalpine fir that's native to New Mexico and Arizona. So it only grows in the very tallest mountains there, and there's very, very little of it available. But you can find it on tree farms as a Christmas tree because it was popular for a minute. So it has, it's similar to fir needle, but it has a very spicy overhead.
Listen to us. Ooh,
Tell us more.
I knew that
is
was going to be a
cool.
good question to ask.
I mean, everyone now wishes they had it, so maybe it was unfair.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
that's the problem.
Okay, well, we are going to make a quick little DIY. This is a Sleep Easy Petitgrain pillow spray. So you're going to need, are we good, Danny?
Yeah. I was
Okay,
just
he's
coming
like stop in motion.
No, I'm gonna zoom in so I can show.
Okay, do we need to scoot this over
I
so
wouldn't.
maybe people can see?
You know, I'm just gonna have the camera kind of.
Okay, so you're going to need 1 ounce of Everclear,
And that's in the little,
this one,
yep, right there.
and then 3 ounces of water, and then we're going to be using Petitgrain, bergamot, cedarwood, atlas, and vetiver. I'm just going to mix everything. No, I'm going to mix the essential oils and the Everclear first and then add it all to the water, it says. So Petitgrain, we're going to do 30 drops.
This
Good luck
is
with that.
It's a
Darby's
quick
favorite.
Yeah, right. This is not Darby's favorite oil.
Are you not a
That is my
Petitgrain
least
fan?
favorite essential oil of all time.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it makes me sad because I can instantly smell it in anything. And so something that actually is really great, all I'll smell is Petitgrain and it'll ruin it.
Really? I mean, you hate it more
I
than
smell it?
carrot
I
seed?
I do.
Now that
I actually would sit and smell
stinky.
carrot seed over.
Oh, it smells so good. I
Yeah,
love
I
Petitgrain.
think it's
It's
quite
because
lovely. It's
Emily
really
likes neroli.
unique.
I
So-
love neroli.
I struggle with Petitgrain. I don't know why.
Wow.
I want to like it, but I just can't.
Oh, I've done 1 extra drop on all of them so far. It's fine.
And we'll have to throw it away now.
8 drops of cedarwood atlas.
Oh.
This one we could be here for a while.
Thick. How many drops?
8.
counting,
Hey, I
Danny.
got it right. I just need the thick oils. And then 3 drops of my all-time favorite, my soul. This is my soul oil. Did you know that, Jesse?
Now I do.
You can know everything about me by smelling this oil.
And
Whoa.
it's also Jesse's
Graduated
favorite
at
oil
age.
to GCMS test.
Yeah, I know
sure
it is. It's not, by the way.
It's a little sticky.
It's
a
fine.
little
We're,
It's one of my favorites though too. I
look at
love
that.
Vetiver.
1,
I do not love vetiver.
2. That's how it comes out for those that are listening to the podcast. 3. That's how long it takes to get 3 drops of vetiver. Okay, I'm gonna mix that in the Everclear. Is it actually Everclear?
It is
Sometimes we
actually
use water.
Everclear. No, that is the legit stuff right there. I poured it myself.
Okay, and then I'm gonna
tasted
mix
it
it in to the water and dump it in my spray bottle.
It's kind of
You're
cool
a
how the
pro.
essential
I don't
oils
know why
made
you
it,
complain about
cloudy.
DIYs. You're the queen.
They didn't see our
I
DIY
saw
from
someone
yesterday.
commenting that Plant Therapy is coming out with new packaging for our shea butter. And that is true. It's going to launch on Amazon first because we have, we're going to keep what we have left to sell through pt.com, and then we'll launch the new stuff. We have other new butters coming out, so we're just going to launch them all at the same time on planttherapy.com. So we're launching this new shea butter packaging. I'll tell you in a minute why I'm saying this story. Anyways, I saw a comment, and and that's really exciting. I believe it launches Monday on Amazon, but I was doing a DIY video for it this week. And I had to pour the stuff in silicone mold, and it was just like spilling so bad.
back
I just
so
was
many
watching
memories.
it, it's like coming around and it's spilling under the thing, and I was like, I ruined that. Where Danny and I are trying to wipe it up, and hopefully he can cut it out of the video. Like, it was awful.
Yeah.
I'm really not good at
Danny's
DIY.
like,
I'm a good
yeah, it
editor.
was awful.
It really was.
Well, I
Okay.
was trying to make it better. Like, oh, it'll be okay, and it just kept getting all over the.
I mean, it just
floor.
kept spilling. I was like, I can't, I'm just bad. I'm bad. But I didn't spill this. There's a couple extra drops of oil, but that's totally fine. So this Sleep Easy pillow spray, it can be found on the blog, I assume.
And someone, we did actually put it in the comments. There's a link for the giveaway, and there's
I
also a
can
link for
smell
this
it.
DIY.
I was going to say, fall asleep, Emilee and Jesse.
I just got to work though. Does I have permission?
Oh my goodness, I can smell the vetiver. That is
Can you
so
smell,
lovely.
That
can
is
you
really
smell the
pretty.
Petitgrain? That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I want to know. Oh.
Probably.
And
I
it's
really
like
am getting a
don't
lot of
spray
the
that towards
vetiver though, which
Ugh.
is fascinating. It's the 3 drops that it's so lovely. Okay.
It's really good.
Well, that's it. Jesse, thanks for joining us today. We're going to have Jesse on a lot more, I promise you. I know you're going to want it, and we're going to have him on so he can use all the big words that
There's
Emilee
been
and I
huge requests for more of Jesse.
Yes.
Lots
Yeah, we
of
just
requests
have
for
a
Jesse.
segment Where Jesse
We should
introduces a new big
have
word.
we should have Bradley and Jesse on here because they're always so popular. And I just feel like that would be like brain explosion to have Bradley and Jesse here at the same
Maybe
time.
we'll have them on doing a dance. I'm not sure I can handle like
Retha
all
and
that
Emilee
science.
will opt out of that one.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Thank you for joining our Plant Therapy Live today, your source for natural product news and education. If you enjoyed today's show, which I know by your comments you did, please comment, share, subscribe to our channels. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our podcast channel, and you can find our podcast really on anywhere you get your podcasts. This is a great show to share with friends, anybody who's interested in that science part of essential oils. What a fantastic show to share with them. So thanks for joining. Next Friday, we will be back. And we are going to be talking about our aroma plushes. And
Is there something?
there might be something else happening.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
I don't know either. We'll see.
Oh, okay.
Come and join next Friday. But thank you for joining today. Happy plantings. Bye. Everyone.